Yeah, hi everybody. I can see Dr. Muthu has joined us. Dr. Dabke is here. Dr. Uh, Tushar Poddar is here. Mahir, hello. Hi Yashika, nice to see you.
Hello, nice to see you too.
And Tirthankar, I know you're under the weather. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Amlesh. My apologies. We had the meeting yesterday.
Yeah.
We had another function, as I told you last evening, and
Hmm.
after that, I came down with fever.
I
So,
hope I was not the cause, Tirthankar.
no, hopefully, we'll be back on feet by Monday or so, sir.
Yeah.
So, apologies if I am not able to stay the whole and duration of the program, please.
No, I'll make sure that the students get the benefit of your wisdom early in the.
Thank you, sir.
So I see some students are still joining, so we are going to wait a couple of minutes and then we'll be on our way.
Our videos seem to be disabled. Can the admin enable our videos?
Is there a reason for that, maybe, Tushar? Or maybe it's technically?
Mahir
Yeah.
is who's the admin? Mahir is Moin there or?
The admin, you started, right?
No, I have not started it.
No.
No, I have told I'm just talking to Moin only, so just give me a minute.
Yeah, so I think we are going to get started once everybody has their videos on. Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
It's still locked for me.
Same here.
We will have to make everybody a co-host, and then you can see.
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah, great. Everybody on now?
Hi, Rupank.
I was just calling
Hi,
you.
Rupang.
Hi.
Right. Yeah, I think the videos are on now, so I think we should be on our way. Firstly, all our students who have turned up today, thank you so much for attending this, and I'm sure you're going to, you're going to really enjoy it. So we are going to start off with me doing a quick round of introductions. A very, very distinguished panel today, and I wish I were a student and I could have, listened to this kind of a panel in my student days. So, we have with us Dr. Abhinay Muthu, who has been the dean of Warwick University, 37 years of teaching experience across universities in economics, Cambridge, London School of Economics, Harvard, Warwick, Essex, head of Department of Economics at Warwick and Essex. But what is really exciting is Dr. Abhinay Muthu is going to teach our next batch of students microeconomics. And, I get goosebumps as I say it. So, Dr. Muthu, welcome to this webinar. And the students are really looking forward to interacting with you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll also introduce a great friend of the Academy, Rupang Chaudhary. partner at Aon and the Chief Commercial Officer. And most importantly, a very, very close friend of MDAE. He's on our advisory board, and several times in the past, we have leaned on him for direction, and he's always come through for us. Rupank, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this webinar.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. Next, I am delighted to introduce Dr. Tirthankar Patnaik, the Chief Economist at National Stock Exchange. Again, a great supporter of the Academy, regularly guides our students with their dissertations. And one more exciting thing to mention here is that Dr. Tirthankar is going to be teaming up with other veteran professors to teach macroeconomics to the students, to the next batch of MDAE students. So, Dr. Abhinay Muthu, microeconomics, Dr. Tirthankar Patnaik, macroeconomics. I mean, I couldn't have asked for better than that, right? I will also introduce you to Dr. Tushar Poddar. Dr. Tushar Poddar is the founding director of Meghnad Desai Academy, and he's the one on whom, me in my position as of director of academic programs, Dr. Dakke as the program coordinator, we interact with him and we take advice from him on an almost daily basis. He's macro strategist at Wellington Fund in the fund management in London. Tushar, thank you so much for being here for our students, and they are really looking forward to hearing from you.
My pleasure.
Okay. I'm trying to see if Ajit, Dr. Ranade has joined us. No, I don't see him. So I'll move on to my dear student, Yashika Doshi. Yashika did her postgraduate diploma in economics at Meghnad Desai Academy a few years ago. Then she went on to do her MSc in economics at the University of Nottingham, which she's about to wind up. Yashika, thanks so much for turning up. It makes a big difference for our future students to see and hear, our alumni like you, who spent time at the Academy and have gone on to do really great things. Thank you so much for turning up here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So the topic today is, we really want to advise students, and we like to, students are really curious about and often worried about what do they do after their graduation. And hence we have all of these seniors, experienced people who have been there, seen it all. They have guided several students. So we are going to take the benefit of their experience. And of course, at the end of it, we'll take questions. So students, if you have questions, do put them on the Q&A box or the chat box, and I'll moderate them. So start typing your questions early so that, the earlier they come, the faster I can start taking a look at them, and the better the chance that those questions will get on the board for our experts to answer. So let's start off with, Abhinay. Abhinay, so this is what I would like you to advise our students about. There is so much spoken about the need for a well-rounded education, and your areas of expertise, economics. So how do microeconomics and macroeconomics, or how should they come in a multidisciplinary educational approach that most students seem to be taking today, and for all the right reasons? That's what the world of jobs demands. And also there is extreme interest in India amongst aspirational students to study abroad. So if you can, talk to our students about that, I think that in fact will answer a lot of questions that students, I'm sure, are beginning to type up. Over to you, Abhinay.
Thank you, Amlesh. Thanks a lot. It's good to be here. Warm welcome to everyone, and in particular to the students who I can see there are about 21 of you here. Warm welcome to all of you. Let me just say again, I won't talk too much to come through your questions. I think that'll be a better way to engage with you. What I want to put I hope you all will join us, by the way, I hope that will be the case. You're applying and you will join us. And you'll see more of it. But let me just put economics, and then I want to put the Academy's course, which, as I said, I hope you'll join us, in context. This is, I tell my students, this is a century of the social sciences and in particular economics. The world is in turbulence right now. You're seeing that. The global economy is in turbulence and so on and so forth, partly due to the post-COVID, the COVID stuff, the war in Ukraine. But I think more fundamentally, when people say, what is it? It's the technological revolution that we have been going through. And I would say we ain't seen anything yet because of the AI revolution is still to come. And therefore, this is an exciting time to do economics, really exciting time to do economics. And, you know, when I did economics, I'm envious of you guys. I wish I was 40 years younger and I could be doing it now. This is an exciting time to do economics, to do social sciences more generally, by the way. Unlike sciences, you know, I would say this is not the time to be a physicist. That was last century, for example. So that's the first thing to say, really exciting. I was listening, by the way, to a talk the other day again, for some reason, by Christine Lagarde, who's the head of the ECB, used to be the managing director of the IMF. She has a fantastic lecture she gave in 2014, the BBC in England, Dimbleby lectures. You can Google this or we can send a link to you. And she sort of, and that's so relevant even today, 7 years on, about the relevance of economics to sorting out the world's problems. So that's the context in which you should study economics. So my encouragement to all of you students here, do economics. No question about that in terms of the excitement, the fun, in terms of the relevance for this century compared to last century. And by the way, as a footnote, when people tell me, well, I just want to earn a lot of money, well, then it's economics. That's a straightforward answer. It's economics, finance, and stuff like that, data science. Before I tell you a bit more about economics and the questions that Amlesh about micro and macro, just want to say that, you know, I have seen the academy start over the last several years ago and prosper, and it was by design, a combination of academic firepower from the UK, from Lord Meghnad Desai, and the firepower combined with the top practitioners of the world like Tushar here. And to bring those two worlds together, which is what has to be the case going forward, that is in the PG economics and PG data science course. So you don't find this anywhere. So that way I can tell you that, and I'm not a complete insider, I'm going to teach micro this next year, but that is what's informed the design of the courses. And I think a lot of universities in the world, not just in India, are still behind the curve, because the future is about, you know, how do you design teaching and learning that's going to be relevant in this world or the next 50 years or so. That's your world, right? Your world is that you want to, okay. Going back to the course and in particular economics, the micro and macro, there's a strong connection between the two. While economics, by the way, you know, has two broad areas, branches. One is micro, which goes back, if you like, of course, goes back to the beginning of human history. But if you like, the founding father of micro, you could say, was Adam Smith with this great treatise, The Wealth of Nations. And that was the birth, if you like, of microeconomics, where the fundamental insight was that, you know, markets, if you leave them alone, will be brilliant. Although that's not quite true. The imperfections all sort of left, right, and center, but the key insight, which is that insight. And in fact, the micro that I want to teach you, I won't spend too much time on that insight, because while that insight about the power of the market, about the basic benchmark result, that if you leave markets alone in a frictionless world, that's a key word, that we'll have what's called, you know, we'll have great outcomes. And we will talk about that briefly in our course, but then we're going to spend much of the course talking about the real world, which is the world with lots of frictions. Frictions in terms of externality. You know, climate change is all about externalities, meaning that there are effects. When I consume too much, it affects the climate, in turn it affects your welfare. So a lot of the micro that we'll learn is about how do we design markets in an imperfect world. And that's the world you'll be going and practicing and so on going forward. And then macro, of course, was the created one of the, you know, macro, I could say, I know the inventor, the creator of macro is, of course, the legendary Maynard Keynes. He and I went to the same college, by the way, so I'm not trying to brag here. So he and I went to the same college in Cambridge, King's College, and his ghost is all over the place there at King's. But he's, you know, Christine Lagarde references him several times in her talk. He was the architect. So her talk is about what's happening in the world. 1944, the Bretton Woods system, which is in simple language, the world's order. The world's order, UN system, IMF, World Bank, rules-based order was set by politicians, yes, by Roosevelt of United States, by Stalin of Russia, by Churchill of England were the key three people at that. But the brains was the great macroeconomist, Maynard Keynes. He was almost single-handedly with others who designed the system. So macro, which I won't be teaching, my colleagues will be teaching, will be talking about the stuff that you hear in newspapers, the role of interest rates, the role of money, the role of fiscal policy, spending by governments. And there's a strong connection between micro and macro. While micro focuses on markets and behavior and choice, macro is looking at the aggregate, looking at the economy, this animal called this thing called the economy from a distance, but the two are interrelated. But of course, it's better to do micro first. So I'll stop now. I've spoken enough. But the key point is that these two areas are really important. Of course, econometrics gives you the ability to analyze data, gives you the tools that you will need to prosper in your lives going forward in this century. I think I hope I answered your questions indirectly in different way, Amlesh, and I hope the students found it useful and will be filling in their forms right now.
Well, you did me a big favor. I talk to at least 4 potential students a day, and I labor through the answer to this question. Now all I have to do is, play a recording. Fortunately, we are recording this, and all I have to do is play this recording. So, you're going to save me about 3 hours of talking if I play these 5 to 7 minutes.
You're being too generous, but over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. After this, I'll move to Rupank. Rupank, as you've literally been one of the people who built MDAE from ground up. One of the pillars, of this academy is that, the teaching has to be great, the instruction has to be fantastic, but we really need to take our students across the line in terms of placing them in good jobs, putting them on the path to good careers. Now, I don't think we could have gotten a better person than you to talk about what are the evolving trends in the world of jobs and careers in India. What are the must-have skills, beside the strong domain knowledge that we impart, finance, economics, how does it all come together, and what are organizations looking for? Over to you, Rupank.
Sure. And I think this is very close to a session that I had taken, I think, just last week for some students, current as well as future, talking about what are the trends that we are seeing in the Indian employment market and what sort of, the topic of this session was how to succeed in a post-pandemic world or a post-pandemic economy. And while I had mentioned that there is no blueprint for success because things change as we speak, but there are certain things that we as economists or consultants can talk about what will shape the future. And I think, when you speak about mega trends, I think there are certain realities which are possibly going to be more strong than the others. And I said, while nobody can predict the future anymore, given the way it's changing, but some things might hold true. I think the first aspect of, the world of employment or the world of work is that the way we are working is changing rapidly. I think the digital revolution that we had seen during the pandemic is here to stay, and that is not going to go away any time. And what is really happening is that the way companies are doing their businesses or the business models is changing drastically. As a result, people working for those corporations also have to adopt and adapt to newer ways of working. Which in a nutshell could mean what we have seen in the last few years of hybrid working, but even more agile ways of working, which really means that linear careers or mono careers or monoline experience, which was pretty good 15, 20 years back when many of us graduated, is no longer the case. Diversity of experience and diversity of skill set is going to be very important because organizations today require a lot of change and agility in your mindset when you set out to do jobs. And going with just a few skill sets or let's say obsolete skill sets is not going to help. Now, a lot of questions that I was asked in that session were that, but we're not engineers. And while clearly the kind of sectors which are doing really well are in technology and e-commerce and startups and, industries which are focused on technology and digital, and that's not entirely untrue. If you are seeing the kind of hiring that is happening or the kind of increments that are being given, any industry which has employability of technical or digital talent is obviously doing really, really well. And this is not only the classical tech sectors, it's also the older world manufacturing sector, services sector, FMCG sector, financial services sector. Wherever there's an interplay of technology and digital, those sectors are doing really well. Because this, in our parlance, we call it skill set convergence, which really means that sectors are now coming together because they are bound by a string of new age skill sets which bring them together. Which is why a Nike today calls itself a tech company, and Amazon calls itself a tech company, not really an e-commerce company. Today, a Paytm or even if you go to a classical bank, they want to benchmark themselves with tech companies, not banks or financial services companies. Everybody is wanting to be known as a tech company, right? So that's the new reality we are living in. As a result, the employability with these new age companies also has its own nuances. But the fact is not everybody is an engineer, not everybody has technological skills. But I think the most important aspect for anybody getting into the job market today is that you need to understand that a mindset of change and a mindset of being agile to learn new skills and being able to work with technology is a big requirement. For example, a lot of times banks or larger, older organizations haven't really succeeded because they've hired tech talent, but the mindset to work with technology or digital doesn't exist. Unless you have that, you're not going to be able to actually succeed, which is why by hiring expensive people in technology is not necessarily going to change the way you work. It's about changing the mindset at the top. And that really, brings it down to what sort of orientation you have when you go into the whole industry market. The last thing is that also what we have seen is for many of us, this is the second big crisis which happened in 2020. 2009 was the first one. Well, there was 1997, 1998, but many of us, at least I wasn't in the workforce. For me, 2020 was the second big economic crisis, right? Now, what companies are also realizing is that they need managers and people who can actually work through chaos, work through crisis. As a result, we talk about IQ, then we start talking about EQ. Now we have something called RQ, which is a resilience question. How fast can you bounce back and how much can you actually withstand change and chaos and volatility and uncertainty in today's day and age is very critical. So when companies today look for managers, they're looking for leaders who can tomorrow lead them through crisis and change management and turmoil, not necessarily people who can make them grow when the tide is going well, right? And that starts from the very basic level, right? Learning about how crisis came about, learning about great leadership skills is extremely, extremely important. And the fact is that we are all going to be working with data more and more. Data is a new oil. Everything is around data, right? And the more comfortable you are working with data, digital technology, and being able to work in an uncertain environment and be far more agile to the needs of the organizations, the better suited you are. That, in a nutshell, is what companies today look for. They're not looking for the best degrees or the highest CGPA, but a lot of focus is now coming on your personality skills to see whether you can actually ride storms when they come, because the storms will come. We are living in a very, very uncertain environment.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rupank. And I think you kind of from the academic perspective, you hit the nail right on the head. When I counsel students who are considering signing up for MDAE, one of the questions I get is, I have never done programming. I'm not from an engineering school. Do you think I'll be able to handle Python programming and R programming? And I tell them that our Python programming, R programming courses were built because we believe that programming cannot be the fiefdom of engineers anymore. And what is an engineer anyways in India? Somebody who went to engineering school, right? Let's not even get into the definition of what makes an engineer. And I'll tell you one thing, right? Because I worked in the IT industry in India and abroad for 32 years, and I was in Oracle, and I keep on talking to my peers. Their technology knowledge is still stuck in the zones of Java and SQL databases and a bit of REST APIs. But if you look at the kind of knowledge that our students are imparted, not only do we take their knowledge of MS Excel to the next level, which nobody in traditional IT companies really uses it that way. We teach them Python, we teach them R. People from traditional IT companies in India haven't even heard the word econometrics. forget knowing what it is, right? And then we actually over the years have introduced visualization as a proper philosophical instruction, Power BI, Tableau. Last year, we even included Amazon Web Services, right? Statistics, probability theory. The old generation IT folks, my age and their teams, they have never gone anywhere close to it. I mean, all I'm trying to tell you, everybody, is that this is how we have built our data science and economics programs, So it's so great to hear from, people like you who are, who have their finger on the pulse as to how jobs are changing. So, I mean, it just gels with the way our programs were built, So I would now like to go to Yashika. So Yashika, you were at the academy, and we have always adored the way you have shaped your future path. It would really help if you told our audience a little bit about your time at the academy, how it enabled you, how it helped you when you went to the University of Nottingham in terms of the foundation that you were provided. Go on there.
Sure. I would just like to begin with how important doing this course was before I even thought about going abroad, because I don't think I would have been really confident with my quant skills, or even the holistic development that this course has given me in terms of conducting myself in front of professors, in front of people that I have constant exposure to over here. So yeah, my time at the academy, I will not lie, it was grueling. It was intense, it was hectic, but there was just so many things to do. And because it is a short 1-year course, and you just want to make the most of it, I think my fondest memories are just staying back in the library with that beautiful view. Well, we had that in the original building, and just completing assignments, and just being around these nice books and the view and all, and just struggling to complete it, or just seeing, oh, is some professor inside, we have a doubt, oh, do we have to email this person now, and all that. But yes, all in all, the entire course had it kind of had its up and downs, because personally for me, I took a little time in the beginning to settle down. The first month, I felt directly from a BA economics course in Ruia, I came here. And that's why the pace was very different for me. But I think after the initial 1 month, I kind of settled down and in fact, I had the opportunity to be mentored by Dr. Podar. He was my mentor there, and he still is. And I think that is one of the best features that I love about the academy, and it puts the spotlight on the academy, that all the students are given this one mentor, that obviously all other professors are approachable, but then this one person to kind of guide them through everything, and explain things, and there are so many things you don't understand as a student, things I wouldn't even dream of knowing, and the things you learn there. So yeah, it was fun, but it was hectic. And that kind of shaped my, obviously my entire future career. From there, I went on to work with another person on the board here, Dr. Ranade, for 3 years at ABG. And yeah, now I'm in Nottingham. So yeah.
Yeah, great. So, yeah, I'll call out what you said. It was grueling. Okay. The program is meant to be rigorous. That's what I tell students. I tell them it might be, you're likely to get the feeling of running a marathon, right? But we are there to make sure you complete it successfully. Yes, you'll get fatigued. There'll be times when you feel that you're really tired, but you will complete it. Okay. And, they should really, everybody knows what a marathoner thinks at the end of the marathon, right? So that's the thing to focus on. It is, of course, it's meant to be rigorous, because if the program is not rigorous, then you're not going to be able to take on the challenges of further education abroad, or in the world of career. So I'm so glad you brought that point out, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you at the academy someday. I'll tell you another thing. Okay, I'll tell you what progress is, right? So you guys, you labored through the program, you toughed it out. I'll tell you a trend. I see Shraddhesh Kenkre, who signed up for the economics program, and the program is to begin in August. And Shraddhesh and a bunch of guys who have Param Shah, for example, who have signed up. They're already coming to the academy. And yesterday, things came to a point where actually I had to do an hour's session with them on linear algebra. And, so these guys are already ahead of the game. We are a month and a half from starting. So it's great to see this excitement build up, and, it's going to the next level. So thank you so much, So, Dr. Tushar, I would like to call you in because, you are the academy to me, right? The one thing I hear you talking all the time is the interconnect between economics and finance. And the fact that our students, and I think our students have realized that, or young students in India have realized that their knowledge, their education really has to be globalized, right? Nobody can now think only in terms of India. So what is the perspective you would like to give our students, and how does MDAE ensure that their knowledge is really globally applicable, not just India specific?
Thank you, Dr. Amlesh. It's really exciting to be here. It's exciting to see all these students and my fellow panelists, some of whom I haven't seen in a really long time. I haven't seen Rupank in a really long time. So really good to see you. Really good to see Yashika, and of course, everybody else. So welcome. I think we live in a very exciting time. As Abhinay mentioned, we live in a world of global challenges. We've had a big shock, which is the COVID shock, followed up by a big war. We have not had a full-fledged war for nearly 40 years. It's really, this kind of war is not something that was foreseen. And you can see the impact it's having globally in terms of the impact of the war on commodity prices, on oil, on metal prices, copper, on food prices, wheat, rice, vegetables, all of which are through the roof. And it's affecting every country. It's affecting us Indians, those who are living in India. It's obviously affecting Europe. It's affecting Africa. It's affecting literally every country, because we all need to eat. We all need to drive. We all need to consume. And metals and oil and food are very basic ingredients that we all need. And India exports a few, but really imports everything else. So, we do live in a very global world, and this year and the last 3 years has actually brought that out much more forcefully than ever. COVID was not something that was discovered or invented in India. We got that shock from elsewhere. But it is also, my view that India is very connected globally in every respect. Whatever happens globally impacts India. And unfortunately, I find our students are not as globally aware as they should be about the things that matter to them. So I not only mean commodity prices, but job trends. Some of the job trends that Rupank mentioned are global in nature. The advent of technology. India was not the starting point, but India has been thrust into the limelight and is facing the whole technological challenge and embracing it and going forward because of that. And all of you have a ringside view of that technological revolution, as Rupang mentioned, and you have the ability to take that forward. So knowing what's happening in Silicon Valley, knowing what Google is up to, knowing what Facebook is up to, knowing what are the technological changes in AI, in ML, in data science, in data analytics, all of these are really important aspects of your education. If you are not learning about these, that means that somebody else is and you're being left behind. And in a global marketplace, you are not only competing with your fellow Indians, but you're competing with Chinese, you're competing with Indonesians, you're competing with Europeans, you're competing with Africans, you're competing with Bangladeshis. There are many people who are looking out for jobs and for education. And they are driving down the door of knowledge, and they're trying to seek higher goals. So you need to be very global. As Amlesh asked me the question, why do we need a global mindset? Is because we live in a globalized world. Despite what is happening in the world in terms of wars and so on, that makes it even more relevant for you to understand. When the Fed hikes interest rates, all of us get affected, including you in India. You get affected because that leads to higher interest rates for everybody. It means tighter liquidity. It means the stock market comes down. It means the bond market sell off. That has an impact on investments. So knowing what is happening globally and making that link to what is happening in your current situation, I think is really important. And this is something which is at a pillar at MDAE. What we try to do is we try to focus on giving you a global education. And it's not only having, are very excited to see Abhinay, who's ex-dean at Warwick and really is as global as it comes, teach you, but also, the speakers that we bring to share their thoughts and ideas. We had Robert Skidelsky come and talk about the Keynesian revolution. He is one of the foremost biographers of Keynes. He's written about 20 books on John Maynard Keynes. We had people to talk about the Ukrainian war. We had Thomas Mucha, and we had people from the Observer Foundation come in from different angles to talk about the implications. And these are the kinds of things that you want to be engaging with. We had people talk about the Indian economy in the context of what's happening globally, including our esteemed panelist, Dr. Rana Dey, speak to you about the Indian economy. I gave a talk on emerging markets. I invest in about 80 emerging markets, from Korea all the way till Trinidad and Tobago, including all the African countries and Middle Eastern countries and Latin American countries, and Sri Lanka and Pakistan and the Stans. So, I think telling you about what is happening there was really important. It was a very engaging session, which I really enjoyed. We've had speakers who come and talk about commodities and tell you about what is happening in the oil market, and how you should think about that, supply-demand dynamics there. So I think, there is an opportunity to develop a global mindset. It is inbuilt in the curriculum. It is inbuilt in the speaker series. And that is something that I think every student should know, because otherwise you get left behind. And so I would highly encourage you, hopefully as full-time students here, to come and partake of that. If you choose to go elsewhere, that's fine too, but please do join our speaker series, because they are open to others as well. And it's open to everybody. Make sure that you log in, make sure that you take advantage of the talent in terms of the intellect that's thrown at you. So that is all I would say, so good luck and all the best.
Yeah, and Tushar, yeah, of course, global mindset, there is no denying that students have to have it. And of course, other than that, I think a multidisciplinary mindset. And what I'm noticing is students or people, who have graduated 2 years ago and have been working are beginning to wake up to this. For example, I see Piyush Surve, who's joined us. And I was having a conversation last week, I think 2 weeks ago, when he was at the academy. And Piyush has a lot of experience with capital markets, right? He works for a really niche company in India. And in that conversation, it came out that Piyush has now come to that point where he realizes that he needs to understand the economics side of it to complete the picture for him. So this is a really heartening sign, that students are themselves waking up to this, the need for this multidisciplinary mindset. So what can we say to these students? Either those who are primarily economic students and now want to get exposure to finance, or those who are primarily finance students and now have a thirst or a yearning for economics. They want to complete the picture. What do we say to advisors?
Question for me?
Yeah.
Okay. So because I did see Dr. Ranade has also joined. He may, he will have. So look, I think, the one thing that we encourage you to do at the academy is read. Read widely and read deeply. Not only the financial press, but lots and lots of books. There is a lot of reading during the course. Your instructors will be recommending that you read, and that is a habit that we find needs to be nurtured and developed, because our education system unfortunately is not encouraging that. And to do anything in life, whether to be multidisciplinary in approach, to have the kind of skill sets that Rupank mentioned, which is to be able to be agile, to shift and to be resilient, when a job profile changes, because your job profiles will change all the time. There is no cookie cutter approach. There's no one narrow line that, I'll just be doing this work on Excel for the rest of my life. No, that doesn't happen. You will need to be agile. You will need to learn different skills. It's not learning Python or R, but, how to understand the plumbing of software packages. Today it's Python. In my time, it was C++.
Yeah.
2 decades ago, it was Fortran. 10 years later, it's going to be some other programming language. And if you've only learned Python, you're going to be left behind. So you need to understand the plumbing. That is what we teach you. We teach you the plumbing, how to think about data, how to look at data, how to analyze data, right? And it is not just analyzing that one figure. We are not going to tell you, okay, this is how you must think, right? You have to learn that. You have to imbibe that, through the process. So it's really important to understand the plumbing and read and both broad and deep. And that, I think, is a critical element. And also engage in discussions. All of our classes have very active class participation. You learn as much from your fellow students. In the working world, nobody works in a silo. Whether you become a consultant or an investment banker, or you get into technology, or you work in a startup or in marketing, any discipline, you work in teams, right? In any given day, I'm working in 5 different teams on 5 different projects. And if you don't know how to work with others, you have a problem. So you really need to learn how to work with your fellow colleagues. You are not competing against your fellow colleagues. You are working together to raise yourselves. So that is a really important aspect of our teaching, is that we encourage you to form groups and work within groups and work with each other, because that is what you will do in a work atmosphere. You will not be just learning by rote and reciting in an exam. You will not be doing a project and just giving it to your boss, right? You will be working in teams, and you will be caring and sharing and nurturing each other. And that's what multidisciplinary approach and teamwork is all about.
Let me just quickly add, if I may. Independent thinking. This is the British education system, unlike anywhere on the planet. Is when I teach the micro, I want to be teaching how you should think for yourself, not what you should think. That's really, I just want to emphasize this point about independent thinking will be in the MDA approach, which is unlike across, with due respect, all Indian universities. The second point about multidisciplinary is another person is Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci was curious about everything. That is what you got to be. You have to be a Leonardo for this century for you to prosper. Perhaps you didn't have to be that last century. And everything that's been said, that's what I think the MDA course gets you to be. The future Steve Jobs of India should come out of the cohort that's coming out of MDA. That's what I think is the course has been designed to deliver.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abhinay. Okay, I see Dr. Ajit Ranade has joined us, so I am going to introduce him. I don't think he needs any introduction. Dr. Ranade is on the academic board of MDAE. He is the Vice Chancellor of the Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, and until not too far back in the future, he used to be the Chief Economist at the Aditya Birla Group. So, to tell my story in a few seconds, I have been teaching at MDAE for the last 5 years. But for the first 2-3 years, I used to, I was a visiting faculty. So I used to come in, do my Python course and do my data analysis course and get out. But then I started attending meetings, staff meetings, academic board meetings. And then, what really infected me was when I heard the vision of how MDAE has pieced together all of what we have been listening to in this call from Dr. Ranade and Dr. Tushar Poddar. So, Dr. Ranade, Abhinay spoke about the need for a well-rounded education, how micro and macro fit into it. He gave students an insight into what it means to study abroad and what they should, look for. Then Rupank gave them an excellent insight into Dr. Ranade is telling me that, his connection is not good. So, Dr. Ranade, are you able to hear me? No, I think not. So, Tushar, this is coming back to you. So, Tushar, you guys infected me. That is when I saw the vision of how all of these things are being brought together at MDAE. And now for the past 2 years, being an insider day in and day out, I really see that. If you could tell our student friends, how we have all brought it together, how we started off with economics and we were sure that quant would be an integral part of it. Then we quickly realized data analysis has to be there. It got baked into the curriculum. And then we went on to create an entirely separate data science program. So all of that we've been discussing. How does it all come together in MDAE so that students will know what benefits will accrue from, learning at MDAE?
Yeah, thank you. So I would say that it's a combination of making sure that academic rigor is instilled very early, and that they learn very practical skills. They hear about applications, and that comes from a constant evaluation of what the job market needs. When we started the course 8 years ago, we didn't have Python. We didn't have machine learning, because these have developed only in the last decade, but now we do. The public policy area has also changed. The entire experimental approach, the RCT approach to public policy, for which Abhijit Banerjee won the Nobel Prize, has now being incorporated into our syllabus. So what we do is we keep on the lookout for what are the latest trends, as some of the trends that Abhinay and Rupang mentioned. What do students need to learn, to be employable? Not only the rigor part, but also the application part. So some of the changes that we've done is, of course, we've introduced a lot of data analytics and a lot of, data analysis and programming skills into the course. But on the other side, we've also introduced a lot of global elements in the electives. So, the course on IPE, International Political Economy, gives you a really good landscape of what is happening. And we get practitioners to come and talk to you about, developments there. So, and this comes from a constant debate, discussion amongst us experts on what is required, what is needed for students to excel. And we listen to feedback. We listen to, what the job market is doing. We listen to feedback from interviewers that your students need to learn this and that. And we try to incorporate that into our course. And we try to, as Abhinay said, try to make you, or teach you how to think about problems, become problem solvers. And builders. The head of Amazon Web Services, one of the largest sort of companies, and AWS did come up earlier in this discussion, meant that when I'm looking to build my team, I'm looking for builders, those who can lay the foundations that I can grow on. I'm not looking for destroyers. I'm not looking for skeptics. Of course, you need to be a little bit of skeptic, but you need to be constantly thinking, have a builder mindset. And that's what we try to encourage is so that learning process is about building and continuing to build on that. But look, I think we've been talking too much. We want to listen to your questions and your concerns, because I think that's going to be really important. So, please use the chat facility or to raise questions to us, challenge us on anything that we've said, because that is also the MDAE tradition. Is debate and discussion.
Yeah, while we wait for questions, just one experience of mine, something that we've been doing at the academy for the last 2 years. When campus placements happen, right? What the team does is they sit the students down immediately after their interviews, and we actually jot down the interview questions, right? Our experience is that 90 to 95% of the questions asked in interviews are covered by our curriculum. Now, do not get me wrong, we don't do it to do interview coaching, right? The idea is not to create a question bank and then get students. We don't even give those students these questions to the next. But, what we do is we want to make sure that our curriculum is relevant, and this is one of the best ways to keep it in tune with what the world of jobs and careers is doing. And I'm sure over a period of time, we are going to see drift, that 95% may go down to 90. That's when we pull up our socks and say, hey, look, we need to include something in our curriculum which is missing, and now the world of jobs needs. So I find, this exercise to be exhilarating and, extremely jobs or placement oriented. Yeah, guys, we are really looking to your, to hear get some questions from you. Yeah, there we go. So Vaishnavi Shilgaonkar is attending the webinar, and she says that what are the opportunities for students with a BA Economics, but without math and stats as their subjects, but want to pursue a career in data analysis, data science, and all other emerging fields? Now, I think, Vaishnavi, I can answer this question. I want you to change your perspective. I want, if at all there is a fear about maths and stats, you have to get over it, and it is very easy to get over it. What I tell everybody is no longer what vertical, what domain you are in. You're young people, do not put yourself in a position where you are not quant enabled. You can be quant enabled. Anybody who has completed their undergraduation can be quant enabled. So I'm answering a question in a different way. Please help us enable you in maths and stats. Okay. Out of all the subjects that we learn in school, I think if we have the right mindset, those two are the easiest and most enjoyable to crack. Maybe it's just that we were not taught them correctly, but we do not assume any prerequisites at the academy. And if some people need help unlearning, so you have to really get your quant skills, and otherwise there is not going to be any data analysis or data science. I hope I answered your question. Okay. So Sakshi Kulkarni is asking us, what are a few examples of updates in the syllabus that MDAE has made in the past with feedback of corporations, etc.? Excellent question, Sakshi. So I'll tell you a very current example, right? So in the data science part, the steps used to be, we first give them a grounding in mathematics and statistics, then Python programming, then data analysis, SQL, data visualization, and then machine learning, right? So what we noticed was in some of the interviews, our students were seeming a bit weak when the intuition and statistics behind machine learning was came up in the interviews, and even from our students who went on to take up jobs. Okay. So what we realize is there is a big gap we are asking students to cover, going from data analysis to machine learning. Okay. Basics were not in place. So when we brainstormed, we realized that statistics behind machine learning was a weak area in our offering. And the simple answer which came out was, there are various ways to strengthen that, going from data analysis to machine learning. We found that the easiest thing to do was to make econometrics a compulsory course, because our economics students go through it anyway. So this year's batch, after data analysis, they will go on to econometrics, get the right foundation in statistics, especially when you learn things like the CLRM, a classical linear regression model, and then they will be able to consume the machine learning course much easily and much more productively. I hope that answered your question. This was one example of how we have reacted to feedback of corporations or alumni who have gone into the world of jobs. The next question is, if one completes the course after 3 years college degree, will they be qualified for the 4-year college degree criteria universities abroad ask for? Unambiguously and unequivocally, yes. All you need to do is call our admissions desk, they'll explain to you. But we have an affiliation with the Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics. Several of our students have gone on to study at top universities abroad. Yashika is one of them. So the answer to your question is an emphatic yes. Major differences between data analysis and business analysis. Okay, anybody on the panel wants to take this? Dhruv Besoya is asking, what are the major differences between data analysis and business analysis? Or I can take it. Okay. Again, instead of looking at the difference, which I'm happy to explain, the steps you want to take is you want to learn data analysis, but I encourage all our students to learn data analysis completely and firmly rooted in the context of a domain. That is why if you look at the MDAE data science program, it's not just a data science program. It's a data science program. It's a PGD in data science and finance. Okay, economics and finance are our core strengths as an academy. So we want to groom our students to be data scientists in finance. Okay, so data analysis is learning the basic techniques, right? Statistics, machine learning, algorithms, mathematics, etc. Or graphs, charts, visualization. But when you take it to the next level, you apply to the domain. That's when you're really equipped to bring out business insights and answer the kind of questions that stakeholders need answered to take the business to a next level. That's the difference between data analysis and business analysis. I see that Mahir probably wants to answer this question. Mahir? Okay. So the next question is, many of MBA students further go on to pursue higher education abroad.
Sorry to interrupt, but sir, just one of the question, like being in talking to so many students, and I thought it's a very important question. If anyone from the board would like to answer this, that like as Vaishnavi had asked one question about, being not done maths and stats. A lot of the students have this myth that only engineers opt for data analytics or data science course. Anyone who's a non-engineer, coping up or learning or in terms of opportunities, they fear. So can someone, highlight this part?
Okay, so the question really boils down to, I haven't done too much of mathematics and statistics up to my undergraduation. Will I be able to cope up? Is that correct?
Yeah, and also like that myth and that fear that many of the students don't opt for. I interact, so they generally come up to me saying that, I've just done BA economics, I've done little math, but do you think I can do a data analytics course? Of being my background, will I get opportunities, or the engineers would be preferred? So, so if anyone would like to add on to it.
Okay. Okay, anybody wants to take that from the panel?
I'll just add, just to reinforce Amlesh's point to all the students that, if you got a degree in economics, bog standard degree in economics, nothing fancy, let's say, absolutely you can take and move forward in the data analytics and data science domain. Absolutely. And MDA's program is designed with that in mind. So it's again, I want to emphasize Amlesh's point that you don't be shy. If maybe shy is the right word, don't be shy. Go for it. And MDA's course and MDA's faculty is there to help that quote unquote transition. Okay, will you have to work hard, as I think Yashika made the point? Absolutely. Will it be intense? Absolutely. You want nothing other than it to be intense. But will you cross the bridge and become a top data scientist? Absolutely you will, if you want to, and the course is designed as such. No question, no ifs and buts on that. No hesitation. Absolutely, I can say that. But Amlesh, just wanted to emphasize, you made this point earlier on. And so since Mahir put the question differently again, I just wanted to come in and butt in and say, look, guys, no issue on that point.
Absolutely. Okay. One more question. Many of MDA students further go on to pursue higher education abroad. What is it that MDA does which helps students build strong profile for application to those universities? Okay, great question. Now, MDA does a lot, but really all of that is achieved by the curriculum of our programs and the way it is delivered. Okay, what are universities abroad looking for? Universities abroad are looking for students who have gone through academic rigor. We find academic rigor missing in many of the undergraduate colleges in India. It's a pity, if all undergraduate colleges had rigor, I am happy to go to my village and potter around my garden, right? But they don't. So somebody has to complete that picture, right? Because, I just don't think we can build the kind of economy in this country that we keep on talking about with the kind of education that is, imparted in most undergraduate colleges. So we have taken on ourselves the challenge to bring up students from that level, make them ready not only for the world of jobs in multinationals, but also for universities abroad. So the curriculum itself, the way it is delivered and the kind of enablement and support that students want, that takes students 75% of the way. Plus, as we already discussed some time ago, most universities look for 16 years of education, which MDA's course is recognized, That's it. Apart from that, if you're asking, come in, Tushar.
No, just a few things. I think just my sort of take on a few questions that were asked, especially on this one. I think one of the things that we try to do is to build a student's confidence. When they come into us, after a 3-year degree, they've been sitting in a class size of 100 or 60, they've just learned by rote and passed exams. They've not been mentored, as Yashika mentioned. They don't know how to interact with faculty, because their faculty has been unapproachable. They don't know what are the options available to them abroad, So one of the things that we try to do, apart from the rigor and the academic side and the quant facilities, which is also really important, developing confidence in maths and stats. And some of the questions are related to that, is that I don't have confidence in my maths and stats. Well, MDA is a place to be, because we are going to develop that confidence in you. But I think more importantly, it is about, giving you guidance, career guidance, that, okay, these are the places that are available to you. These are the options that are available to you. You are a scarce resource. You are a very talented individual, because you are very lucky to have finished a 3-year degree in India. And you're very lucky if you're admitted to our program. So you're part of a very elite group. As you've seen our alumni, they bring up some of the top corporates and some of the top institutions in the world. Our alumni are in Columbia and LSE, at Harvard, at Nottingham, at, the top colleges. And our alumni are also working in Morgan Stanley, in JP Morgan, in Ernst & Young, in Deloitte, the top corporations in India. So you are now part of a very elite group. And that builds confidence to take risk, that confidence to go out and apply abroad, to a top college. That is what we try to do. We try to build your confidence, the interview skills that we bring you, the resume writing skills that we bring you. It's all about building that confidence in the first 3-4 months, because when you come in, not every student is confident. And so that is a very important aspect of the program. And I think one of the questions was that how have we sort of incorporated corporate feedback? And I think one of the feedback which we always get or used to get about economics programs is that in a very technologically savvy world where computer scientists are taking up some of the jobs of economists and data analysts, how can economists stay on top of it? And so to that feedback, what we've done is we've increased the quant element in our program. So now you learn, as I said, Python, R, Tableau, SQL, Excel, the entire gamut of skills that you need to succeed. But how you are so different from a computer scientist is that you can do business analysis apart from data analysis. That brings me to the third question, the difference between data and business analysis. Business analysis is thinking strategically, thinking in a well-rounded fashion. A computer scientist thinks only in terms of programming, only the program that he's writing and what that program can do. A business analyst is going to say, okay, does this program solve this problem? Do I need to bring in somebody else, who can implement this solution to my company's problems? That program is not going to be enough. It is part of the solution. It's not the only solution. And being able to think around all these problems is what a business analysis or analyst does. But I'm sure the panelists have more to add. I don't know, Rupang, if you had anything to add to anything I've said.
I think, if you really sort of, I think one thing that I also want to, sort of talk about is that when it comes to the world of jobs and the world of placements and, what more students need to do themselves, I honestly believe that practical application of all the courses and at the same time ability to network with the industry is something that many people don't think about much, right? And I'm also preempting a question which I think spoke about the fact that what is the difference between students in India and students globally. And what I fundamentally see when we are trying to hire people in the market, right, is a lot of students think that things happen automatically. And they believe that they have the right courses, they have the right education, and everything else should flow in on its own level. But I fundamentally believe that the ability to start networking with organizations and also understanding what they're looking for is extremely critical. I have always found that, many times students come across and they believe that, they will apply for something and it will come their way very, very easily. I think that's not the case. You have to work much harder when you're going out into the larger world, having worked wherever having done your course, wherever you have done it from. It could be from the IIMs, it could be from Harvard Business School, LBS, wherever, right? I think the concept of networking and the concept of being able to have that industry interaction and the applicability of that course is extremely, extremely, extremely important. And what I've seen in MDAE, at least in the past, is that the industry interface and the ability to connect is very, very strong. You have a lot of opportunity to meet with folks who are actually in the corporate world. So that bridge between academia and what works in the corporate world has been provided. But what I see is that many students don't take that bridge. They feel that automatically things will happen once they graduate. That's not the case. I think you have to make that harder shift of crossing the bridge and being able to assimilate much more that the industry is looking for than just a theoretical education that is being imparted. And I feel that onus, while is being, a lot being done by MDAE, remains on the students. And I feel that some who do it more, better than the others, actually end up with far better opportunities to be employed in the workforce than those who believe that everything will come on their own.
Maybe I was going to say a couple of final things from my end, which is that, so everything that's been said to you, totally agree with, so won't repeat some of that stuff. I want to say a couple of things different way. But what I want to say to students directly, and this also applies perhaps to alumni, this is independent of MDA, this is about being ambitious. This is a century of excitement. At the same time, there's bad stuff happening, but it's an opportunity, creative destruction. Schumpeter, the famous Austrian economist, philosopher, coined the term creative destruction. The forces of creative destruction have been unleashed, and they're here for the next 50 years. You can become the next Steve Jobs of India. I made this point earlier on. Be ambitious for yourself. Be ambitious. India, all the inventions are happening and happened in the Silicon Valley. Why can't the next invention happen in India? A real invention. The next Steve Jobs, the next Jeff Bezos, the next Google. And that's, first of all, I want to say to all of you students here, be ambitious for yourselves. The second thing I would say, that to be the next Steve Jobs, to use that example, you need to be creative. Creativity is central to invent. Okay, and you want to be now you might say, what does that have to do? That might be true. How does that have the MDA's course? Everything that Tushar mentioned about the intangibles, which is not on the course, it's between the lines, which is that the way, for example, I will teach micro. Yes, you will learn all the knowledge, but the more important than that is to get you to think for yourselves, for crying out loud, the English expression. That is worth gold dust. That you do not get anywhere in Indian universities, or very few elsewhere as well. The MDA course has been designed by foreigners. I'm Indian, by the way, originally, but I'm a foreigner, by Lord Meghnad Desai, who was our teacher a long time ago. He's the key architects of the academy, bringing together the foreign insight to inform the design of this course. MDA doesn't realize it. I'm a foreigner here, if you like, in the sense of having lived across the world for 50 years, whatever, is that course is designed to foster independent thinker, to foster creativity. And I'm trying to connect with this world. This is a world where we need creativity. Your point, some of the question about, which I think Rupak answered indirectly as well, which is, when I was teaching, when I come to India, I love the hunger of the Indian student. I love the passion. And that's why you guys are still here on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. But what I saw missing was this independence. Yeah, this independent of thought. It's part of our culture. I know. Like, for example, the question is still calling me sir. I'm not sir. I'm just Abhinay, for crying out. Yeah. So that's this minor point to illustrate my point. I want you guys to be the future. Again, use Steve Jobs. I'll be using Steve Jobs as an example. And MDA will offer that mechanism. That 1 year is going to transform you. You're going to become globally competitive, not just because of the knowledge, which is absolutely important, the tools, but it's going to be, as Tushar said, I can't remember the word he used, but you will be hungry and equipped to think for yourself, to challenge, problem solver. I think what someone else, one of my colleagues made. That is what you need to be. That's what MDA offers. And so that's what we unfortunately don't have in the Indian education system at the moment. I'm hoping, by the way, in about 20 years from now, it'll take 20 years, that Indian education system will change and will move and catch up with the MDA's approach. And we will become better as well. There's always room for learning. No, we're going to keep on improving as an academy. And hopefully the rest of my country will catch up and be, but that right now that's not available. So you don't have that opportunity. So I hope that answered the question directly. I thought Rupak had already answered directly, what is, outside. When I was, Indian student, what is missing? It's independence of thought. Of course, there are tools as well, but that's not the big deal. It's the way you learn, which is central here. Amlesh, back to you.
Yeah. We have one more question, and I think you already answered that, Abhinay. So Saurabh Kadam is asking that, he completed his graduation in 2018. He works at Axis Bank. He's never studied economics or engineering, he says, in the past. And it seems from his question that, he knows now that he has to adapt to the changing world. The skill set he had from undergraduation is not enough. But he always has second thoughts, which says, will I be able to do it or not? Please guide me to understand what should I do in this situation. So I'll just say one sentence, then Abhinay, I think you really need to jump in here. Abhinay already said it, Firstly, you are being ambitious by even contemplating it, but you have doubts, I'll tell you, Saurabh, you are in a certain place and you want to get somewhere. It's just a question of deciding how you are going to cross that path. Abhinay, just jump in. I mean, he seems aspirational, but has self-doubt. Of course, everybody has self-doubt.
Goes back to the point that several of us made already. Am I muted? About, the read broadly. I'm great. Fantastic. You're asking this question. Abhilash pointed out that you're even asking this question. So you want it. Don't be scared. Have the courage. You got your whole life in front of you to otherwise you'll regret it later on. Again, Steve Jobs is one of my icons, not the only icon. You should go and listen to he's unfortunately dead now, but you should listen to his 2005 famous 15-minute Stanford University speech he gave at the graduation, called the commencement speech. I'm sure many of us have heard it. And he makes this remark there. It's not his remark, but he brings up about staying hungry and staying foolish. And he talks about follow your passion, follow your heart. He talks about those kind of things. And I'm a big believer. So the answer to your question is no, you will be scared. It's okay to be scared, but you have to do it. Now, whether you do it through us, through the academy, through the course, that's not the point. You must do it. I'll be disappointed. I'll be truly disappointed if you don't pursue it. India will be disappointed. Yeah, India is calling on people like you to lead, to go forward. And, you know, India is a $2.1 trillion economy. We want to be a $5 trillion economy in the next 10 years. We need people like you to be scared initially, but to go forward. And MDA is one of the few, probably the only place at the moment in India, which has this one-year course, which will help you on your journey. So I would strongly be encouraging you, please don't be scared at all. You will be scared, I acknowledge that, but you got to push through. Okay. Good luck, by the way. Good luck with that.
Yeah, and Saurabh, you know, just call the academy, set up a call with me. I am happy to talk to you about this. You know, I've done this with several students in the past 3-4 years, and those of whom who got convinced, they are all in excellent places in life today. Yeah, just, you know, contact me. I'm happy to talk to you. Okay, and maybe this is the last question. Tushar, I think we should be wrapping things up because we're already 15-20 minutes beyond the budgeted time.
Yes.
Okay. So this last question is, can you please highlight what kind of corporate mentorship is provided at MDAE? Any example if you can, and what kind of mentorship can we expect, especially during the placement season? Tushar, you want to take it or I can take it? No problem.
No, absolutely. So every student is paired with a corporate mentor. You know, that mentorship, the goal of that mentorship is not to guarantee you a job. That's not the role of the mentor. The mentor provides you with guidance, builds confidence, gives you directions, you know, tries to answer any queries, you know, or helps you in sort of framing your problem. And so, you know, I know Rupang is a mentor. I'm a mentor. I've mentored several students over the last few. Well, Yashika is there. You can see, you know, she worked at the Birla Group and now she's at Nottingham. And we've been just discussing opportunities for her going forward, right? So there is, you know, and that develops a lifelong relationship. It's particularly because, and this we've taken up the book of most US universities and companies where mentorship is the be all and end all. It's how you pull up students. You know, if you give them mentorship, apprenticeships, in Germany, it's the apprenticeship culture. We believe that, you know, especially if you don't have the same kind of guidance at home, being paired with a corporate mentor is immensely beneficial to your life. Don't see it from the narrow lens of getting the next job. If you do that, you are not taking advantage of what the mentor can provide, which is lifelong skills. And as I keep telling my mentees is that don't worry so much about that first job. You know, worry about what is going to happen in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years down the road. And so you have to get out of that short-term mindset. That first job will come at some point, you know, and that first job is not going to be your only job, but you need to use it as a stepping stone forward. And this is something that I tell my mentees as well, but they have questions on everything from life problems to academic issues, to career issues, to, you know, how do I sort of, you know, approach this person? What is the right way to frame a question with a faculty? All sorts of issues. So I think it's beneficial, but I just want to give Rupang a chance in case he wanted to add.
Yeah, and you know, I completely agree with what you said, Tushar, I think, but what we need to realize is that the Institute does a great job in bringing mentors to students, but I think a lot depends on the students, how they actually leverage this opportunity, right? And in the past, I've had a lot of mentees as well, and some who I can say examples of what a good, proper relationship should be, where students have been in touch throughout the year, wanting to know about courses, what courses to take, what's happening in the market, keeping updated, and as you rightly said, asking a lot of questions about anything and everything, right? And those relationships become much stronger and they remain in touch, and because it just helps them gain a lens into the corporate world, but also get real-time experience in terms of how the real world works. Right? And then some examples of mentees who didn't really leverage it so well, who just landed up just a week before placement week and just wanted to know, oh, how do I get a job and where do I get a job, which is, I think, being transactional, right? And yes, I mean, there are pressures and everything, but the fact is that the institute is going to give opportunities, but it depends on you how you make use of that opportunity, right? I think a mentor doesn't mean a placement coordinator will get you a job. He or she will help you decide what works best for you, how to get there, what are the right ways to move out, what courses to take, have a goal in mind. It's like a coach. Coach will help you achieve a certain goal, but not achieve it for you. That's what a mentor does as well. But the relationships are obviously longer term and lifelong. And it depends on the mentee to invest in that relationship, right? And some do it well and some don't do it so well. So it will all depend on how well you take this up. There will be times when people will not be available, but you have to be at it. And the relationship is always going to be reciprocative if you start with the right questions and have the right expectation. A lot can be done, and it really is helpful. And this is what I believe is missing in when I look at other graduation courses, or at least when the time when we graduated, right? This interface with industry starts much early out here. A lot can be guided and a lot can be understood right from your first semester or first bunch of courses in terms of what the industry expects and how your 9 months should be actually planned.
Yeah, and to add some specific examples, because that's what the question was asking. Of course, Tushar is a mentor, Rupank is a mentor, no less a person than Dr. Niranjan Rajadhyaksha, one of the most eminent economists in India. He is a mentor to our students every year. Or Mr. P.D. Singh, who's a managing director at JP Morgan, he's a mentor. Tirthankar Patnaik, who's going to be teaching macro, chief economist at National Stock Exchange, he's assigned students. Mrs. Shubhada Rao, who used to be the chief economist at Yes Bank. So really, eminent stalwarts, versatile stalwarts from the industry. One more name, which you guys, at least those who are economists, are budding economists, are going to be hearing a lot. Dr. Sajneet Kaur, yeah. In my opinion, she's in the top 5, if not 3, behavioral researchers in India. She's a director of behavioral research at Morningstar. She's one of the mentors, and the kind of relationships I have seen these mentors building up with our students is, it's just outstanding. It's simply outstanding. Anyways, we have gone through all the questions, so I think it's time to wind up. Thank you so much, firstly, students, for turning up, and Abhinay, such an honor to have you. Tushar, thank you so much. Rupank, thank you so much for coming here, being with our students. Tirthankar has had to leave early. He's under the weather. Dr. Ajit Ranade is also left. Yashika, I can't tell you what it means when, and that's the thing about MDAE. There is no MDAE alumnus to whom when I reach out asking for, to join this kind of an event or talk to students. That's one of the signs of success. Our alumni are always there for us, and we start off by caring for our students. Finally, there are so many examples where I really look up to my students. That's, I think, the best situation to be in as a teacher. Thank you so much, everybody. Fantastic session. I hope we'll have many more.
Thank you.
Thank you.